anything for some time. I do anything, yeah. I do anything for some time. I do anything for some peace of mind, yeah. I do anything get me right. I do anything get me out of my mind, yeah. I do anything for some time. I do anything for some peace of mind, yeah. I do anything get me right, yeah. I do anything get me out of my mind, yeah. I do anything, yeah. I do anything for some reason, trying to put the pieces, yeah. I do anything, messing around with psychedelics deep in, yeah. I do anything for a reason, just to quit sleeping in. When you all alone feeling weak, and that's when them demons hit. I've been over my head, trying to keep pushing. Got some hard problems where I need cushion, yeah. Take my mind off it, taking in toxins, I know I shouldn't, yeah. But ain't been no options lately, it been so many losses lately. Man, I feel like I lost it daily. I've been running through weeds, chopping up trees, planting my seeds, baby. Stay in my head, I cannot leave, it's like a disease, baby. Going through it alone, whether you stay or whether you leave, baby. So hard to love when it ain't no love, you got what I need, baby. You got what I need.
Rogers ties another great.
Yep, this pass to Randall Cobb, it ties Dan Marino all-time touchdown pass list, number 420. And he's smoking the Steelers defense right now. They're up 27-10.
Back to Andrew, James, and Amanda.
Okay, Nate, see what you did there. 17-7.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. My name is Zach, aka Lil Big Skinny, and this is the Stat Daddy Podcast, episode 4. Real quick before we get into the show, I just want to give a big shout out to all the viewers who've been, keeping up with the podcast. Appreciate all the support. Really means a lot. And yeah, keep subscribing, I guess. But anyways, now that we got that out of the way, on today's episode, I'm joined by some very, very special guests. Pequeño Papi, aka Josh, will be joining us a little bit later in the stream, hopefully. But for now, we have my friend Jeff, aka the Kyler Murray Fan Club President, aka my name is Jeff.
Hey, gang. What up, my guy?
Defending champion in the house. What up? How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you. We'll talk some football,
man.
we'll talk some basketball, we'll talk some shit.
Ooh,
let's have some fun.
You already know. Yes, sir. And we also have Art, aka the Art of War, aka Aaron Jones at the 4th overall pick, I believe. Yeah.
Wow. Just throwing that in there early,
starting early, huh?
No, I had to mention it just because it is such a big part of our league's lore for this season. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to say that because we're going to be talking draft strats. We're going to be talking about our strategies that we go into the year with in fantasy football. And let's just jump right in. So, fantasy football, fucking fun, right? Right, guys? It's great. It's great.
Always, every year.
Best time of the year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Brings friends closer together. Some people farther apart. I think most of us can agree that drafting is one of the best parts of fantasy football for sure.
Facts.
There it is. Draft strats. Boom, boom, boom. But so Arsteele, if you want to get us started on the topic, what are you looking for in the first couple rounds of a fantasy football draft? Do you usually tend to go running back, wide receiver, running back, or do you just kind of feel out what the board's are giving you?
Me personally, I typically go running back. With the shortage of running backs, the pool of running backs, I try and get them out early, and then I'll go into my receivers to fill out some depth. But since everybody, is waiting for this Aaron Jones 4th pick, I believe in the man. He can do it all. He's a catching back. He can run the ball. So I took him first. Granted, I didn't take him first in all my other leagues, but this was the first one we did, and I took him 4th. And I am confident that he is going to pull out a top 6 running back, finish top 6 by the end of the season.
Not top 4 though, right?
There's a lot of other talented backs out there. So I just feel that with Aaron Jones being there and him paired with Aaron Rodgers, potentially for the last season. We'll see what happens, but I think Aaron Jones is going to have a pretty good year this year. I mean, we see what he did in week 2, week 3. Week 4 was a dud, but you gotta fill out the competition, you gotta fill out the defense. But I'm confident he's gonna have a solid season and finish in the top 6 by the end of the season.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's well within the realm of possibility for sure. I mean, Aaron Jones is a stud. I honestly don't think that's like the craziest thing, like in the entire world, taking Aaron Jones.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't.
Overall.
Like we just like to talk shit, so we're giving you a hard time, but it
Oh,
wasn't.
yeah, for
It
sure.
wasn't that much of a reach.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Derrick Henry went 7th in our league, so
Yeah, that's just
you took
personally.
I could say I regret it. I mean, who doesn't want Derrick Henry when they have him available? But a couple people passed on him. You took Austin Eckler with your pick first, so he's also
don't really regret it. I actually don't.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, he's a catching back. He had a great game this Monday. Shout out to my Chargers.
Fantastic game.
But yeah, he's another catching back that definitely is more than one dimensional. So he can do a lot of things as well. And I feel Aaron Jones can do the same thing.
I agree.
But with that said, yeah, I went Aaron Jones, I went Chris Carson, and then I went on to start my receiving core. So I went DJ Metcalf, Chris Godwin, and Robert Woods, which DK Metcalf was prolific last year. So I decided to, take him 3rd overall. With Tyler Lockett having a great season so far. DK Metcalf has been getting, he's been getting a little. It takes a second to catch his stride, but over the past couple games, he's there. Chris Godwin with Tom Brady behind him, and you have Mike Evans on the other side. He's getting a good target share. Robert Woods is part of one of the number 1 offenses, or one of the top offenses right now. So I started my receiving core with them. So that's kind of how I started my draft, and I'm pretty confident with it right now. But sometimes, like this week, my players didn't perform up to standard, but it happens. It happens. It's part of fantasy football.
Facts. I mean, I think I'm 3rd right now, but my points scored is like super low. I mean, sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't.
I'm like life, Zach. Story of your fucking life, bro.
Yeah, bro. People always have the worst week against me.
I'm like 6. I'm like 6 overall in points out of a 12-man league, so it's whatever. So I just got to catch my win share up and then keep scoring high. I got a pretty big bet with the defending champ right now as far as overall points go. But
I like the gusto though, bro. I'm big on people who put their money where their mouth is, bro. So as long as you back it up and you step up to the plate, like I'm not gonna hate, bro. Like,
oh, I'm right here, baby.
No, I know. It's respect. That's respect right there. Because certain other member of this stream may or may not have put no money like we have, but still likes to run his mouth. So
hey, it's all fun. It's all love at the end of the day,
This is facts.
I can only imagine who you're talking about.
Our resident princess of the league.
Pequeño princess. Okay.
Yeah, Pequeño princess.
Pequeño princess. But, anyways, moving on to Jeff. How does your strategy compare to our steal strategy? So do you also like to go running back early and often, or do you kind of feel what the board's giving you? What do you kind of consider when picking players early in the draft?
So, I mean, that's kind of my default strategy, like from a scarcity perspective. Like, obviously, your top-end running backs are going to go quick. Most of the mocks I did this year, I did go 2 running backs with first and second round picks. That's not necessarily. I'm okay with deviating from that strategy, though. I'm more about seeking out players who have high floors and are consistent, as opposed to maybe someone like an Antonio Gibson who has a potentially high ceiling, but a big like boomer bust ratio or factor. So, I think players like Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, you got your CMCs, Derrick Henrys. Like I just want someone who's consistent with those first like 2-3 picks, regardless of position, and then you can kind of feel out and fill your roster based on how the draft plays out. It was pretty interesting this year. I was in the 12th pick, right?
Yeah, 12th pick.
So most of my mocks,
not a bad place to be.
It was good. I liked it. Most of my mock drafts I did at the 12 spot. I actually went wide receiver.
Okay.
Well, that was only because most of the top end running backs were taken off the board in those top 10 picks. So most of my drafts I was going mock drafts, some variation of Devontae, D-Hop, Kelsey, Devontae, and almost all my mocks. And then when we did our draft, we had Saquon and Chubb fall all the way to me at 12. So I ended up going Saquon 12, Chubb 13.
It's nice,
which I was happy with, which is interesting because I already moved Saquon. I think that was
Big Chubb right now, right?
Yeah, I mean he's pending. He's in a pending trade right now, which we can get into later, I'm sure. But yeah, in terms of my draft strategy, I think I don't really necessarily seek out a certain position in those top rounds. I just look for high floor guys, consistent guys, and also I try and look at the offenses they're in. I want to be in high-powered offenses more often than not. So if I have two players valued kind of around the same level, I'll look if they're a wide receiver, who's their quarterback throwing to them, what's the strength of their offensive line, how good is their defense, are they going to be ahead, are they going to be behind? So, I mean, a lot goes into it, but for me, it's more so just kind of more of a macro perspective in terms of the big picture as opposed to just only getting locked into like a certain position.
Oh, I feel it completely. I feel it. And something I noticed from both of you too is you both took quarterbacks within the first 5 or 6 rounds, which is something that I honestly almost never do, even in like my two. Actually, I take it back. I'm not saying I'm in a 2 quarterback league, and my first pick overall was Kyler. I took Kyler. I had to.
Hey, that's my guy. Like, that's my guy right there.
Like I can't.
Amazing talent.
Dude, for real. But besides that pick in that one league, I usually wait on quarterback till like, I don't know, say like the 8th or 9th round.
Yeah, then, I mean, two QB league changes your whole draft strategy though, when you got to fill those 2 slots. So.
Oh, completely. But no, yeah, and I also noticed that this year you picked up Darren Waller in the 3rd, like right at the turn, and then also Terry McScorin. Those are not bad picks by
Terry McScorin. He's paid off for your 4th pick. He's been killing it.
This is true, man. I mean, I was high on him. Zach had him last year in our league, and I remember trying to trade for him almost the whole season, and he wouldn't give it to me. That's another thing I take into account in drafts is like, who are those players that I was upset about that I missed out on last year, or players that I'm trying to acquire through trades the season prior. And as long as a bunch of stuff doesn't change in the offseason in terms of their offense, head coach, quarterback, those are definitely players I try and like put a little star next to during like the following draft to kind of make sure I keep them highlighted and like in the forefront of my mind. So
this weekend he had a great week. He had 2 touchdowns. He went 6 for 13, over 120 yards. He's solid. He's a solid pick.
And I was surprised too when Fitzmagic went down. I was a little worried that his production was going to fall off, but I think he's kind of proven now. He's reached that quarterback proof. Of maybe not that elite tier in terms of like Devontae, Tyreek, some of those other guys, but he's right there in terms of that second tier.
Yeah, borderline.
Consistent for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. Whatever touches he gets, he makes the most of them. He's pretty consistent, like you said, as far as his floor goes. He's going to give you at least like 12 to 13 points, like on an average week, and that's not even the worst thing in the world. Because if he falls in the end zone, that's almost a 20-point performance. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little jealous I didn't get Darren Waller in like any of my drafts, actually, which kind of sucks. I don't know, just never took him. Like I don't know what it is about taking tight ends early. Like the only time I took a tight end early this year in particular was the Scarpetta draft. I had the 2nd overall pick. I took Dalvin Cook, and then everybody else up until my next picks took running back.
So I'm with you on that. Normally, most seasons I'll stream tight ends for the whole year. I'll shuffle them around through the waiver. The one thing that changed that for me this year, I think obviously you have Kelsey 1A, Waller 1B. It's debatable if you want to put Kittle in that conversation. Obviously, in hindsight, he's been underperforming, but like I think just from a scarcity factor this year and the gap between Kelsey and Waller and everyone else, I saw like a huge edge you can get at the tight end position. And I don't remember exactly who else was on the board at that third round, but I remember going through, and I think like positions like wide receiver, running back, quarterback, you can find value in those late rounds, whereas tight ends, once those first 4, 5, 6 guys go off the board, so I think that was just part of my strategy this year specifically when I got Waller in. I looked at the players who are available.
No, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts. For me, tight ends can be a boom or bust. I know you guys know I drafted 3 tight ends during our draft. They can either be a hit or they can be a miss. But me, I think tight ends in fantasy football is a slept-on position. Like me, I just picked Dawson Knox, who's been killing it. So I just feel they add so much value, but everyone's focusing on running backs or wide receivers. And I drafted 3 tight ends. I traded 1. I kept Tyler Higbee. They're in a high octane offense. So, I mean, I love him. So I think he's going to have a great year. But I just added Dawson Knox. And he's been having, and that Bills offense, they have so many threats. So I just feel that the tight end can add so much value. And Travis Kelce is, over the past years, has been one of the number 1 receivers in the league, and he's a tight end. So, that can be either a hit or a miss.
No, for sure. And like you said, Dawson Knox, honestly, very underrated as far as the tight end goes. I know, like, in a lot of leagues, he's still on the waiver wires even. He's been putting up pretty good numbers with Josh Allen slinging the rock this year. I believe, they're like I think they throw the ball 63% of the time. So, like, almost 2 out of 3 times the Buffalo Bills are going to be slinging the rock. So Dawson Knox has a pretty good chance of falling into the end zone.
Yeah, I just picked him up on waiver wire, so I'm happy with it for now.
Who would you guys say was your biggest bust for a pick? Because I can give you mine right fucking now, bro. Mine's probably Brandon Ayuk. I took Brandon Ayuk in the 5th round, and I don't know what this guy did. I don't know if he fucking text Kyle Shanahan's wife and something got out of hand, or I don't know what happened, but he's just not even featured in this offense after being one of the best rookies as far as pass catching goes last season. So that shit really, really hurt my soul. Is there anybody on your guys' teams that you drafted that you thought would be doing way better than they are now?
For me, I thought DK Metcalf would be super consistent, but with the target share that Tyler Lockett's been receiving, DK Metcalf has kind of not been getting his usual workload. But over the past game or 2, he's starting to ramp up production, especially with Tyler Lockett being injured. So I'm hopeful for the future, but I just thought coming out after the prolific season he had last year that he would just be killing it right now, to be honest. But it's a long season. We're going into week 5, so we'll see where he lands over the course of the season.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very, very valid choice. How about you, Jeff?
I'm looking at my draft right now. So I went Saquon 1, Chubb 2, Darren Waller 3, Scary Terry 4, Kyler 5, T. Higgins 6, Tyler Boyd 7, Antonio Brown 8th round, Logan Thomas 9th round, Singletary 10th round. I'm pretty happy with all those players in terms of where I got them and then how they're performing. The weak part on my team right now is my bench. Usually last year, part of the reason why I won is because I had some solid late round flyers, late round dart throws that ended up really being nice for me. I think Antonio Gibson I picked up in 12th or 13th round last year, who I ended up starting almost the whole season.
Super nice.
After that 10th round, I went Elijah Moore 11, who really hasn't done anything. Deshaun Watson 12. That was obviously a stupid pick. Top end of my draft, I'm pretty happy with. Especially, obviously, I've made some trades, so I think I've been able to kind of shuffle around my roster and get some more value from those players. But the bottom half, I don't really have anyone that I really hit on in terms of a late round sleeper. I'm looking at Mattinson, who actually had a good game last week when Cook was down, so I'm not mad at that. But also Rashad Penny, who's not on my roster, Giovanni Bernard, who had that one good game last week. Other than that, hasn't really done anything. If I would have held on, I drafted Cordero and the 15th, which if I would have held on to him at this point, obviously
pretty big, yeah.
that would have made my team pretty unstoppable, I think. So I'm a little upset. I ended up dropping him, I think, week 2 for another running back. I don't even know who, but
so before we get into roasting each other's rosters on Welcome to the Gulag segment, Art, who would you say won the trade between Jeff and Johnny? So for everyone at home,
Did that trade the trade went through?
It hasn't gone through necessarily yet. But honestly, there's no reason it shouldn't, because in my opinion, it's a fair trade. But we could talk about that. But so Jeff receives Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, and Julio Jones, and Johnny receives Nick Chubb, Mark Andrews, and Terry McScorin. So, in your opinion, who do you think got the better end of the deal?
It's a pretty. I mean, I think it's a pretty fair trade. Granted, the fact that Julio Jones is out for the time being, he'll probably be out for the next 2 games, but that's day to day. Honestly, Travis Kelce is hands down the best tight end in the league. Devontae Adams is the wide receiver one in any league, pretty much off the bat. But Nick Chubb and Terry McLaurin is. I think it's a fairly fair trade. I really can't hate on it. Mark Andrews is solid for the most part, so I really can't hate on it. Did I vote against it?
Yes.
Were you voting against it more as like I don't want Jeff to get stronger rather than like a
Absolutely. I have a pretty strong bet against Jeff for this season, so but that was a little bit of chess more than checkers for me, but I think it's a pretty fair trade.
I honestly would think it's pretty fair as well. I'm sure Jeff would have to say it's pretty fair. I mean, even until it clears.
I mean, here's where that trade happens. Like, I think instead of just like proposing random trades to people, how you get shit done is you create a dialogue and you see where each person is at in terms of how they value the players they want, and then you try and meet in the middle somewhere. So me and Johnny have been talking for a couple weeks about some variation of Devontae. Kelce didn't really enter the picture until last night when we were kind of talking it over. Obviously, I think I won the trade. I wouldn't have made it unless I think it improves my team. But I think it is a big risk just because if you look at my roster, how it's constructed,
you're gonna lose a solid running back.
That's what I mean. And if you look at my
receiver
roster,
heavy, and your receiver heavy,
if Zeke goes down, I'm paper thin at running back.
Yeah, you got Devils. Yeah, Devils.
I have no one. It's my RB2. But here's how I look at it, though. I'm not looking as my second running back spot as a second running back spot. I'm looking at that spot now on my roster as my last flex.
Or like a tight end production type thing.
Exactly. Right. And for me, like we were just talking about with tight ends and the scarcity of them, for me to be able to stack Darren Waller and Kelce in the same lineup is nice. And then in terms of Devontae, I think Scary Terry actually has more points than him right now. So that's kind of a wash, but I think no one's going to be surprised if Devontae finishes as the number 1 fantasy wide receiver.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's a stretch for Terry McLaurin. I think top 5 to top 10 wide receiver is obviously well within the realm of possibility for him. But I think I just made you look at my roster though, like I gave up my best running back and my best wide receiver. So I know.
No, you did. You definitely
You know what
did.
I mean? So I had to give up value. It's not like I'm giving up scrubs and then I'm giving up Mark Andrews, who's a top 10 tight end.
And you have to have a lot of confidence in Devin Singletary because that backfield in Buffalo is confusing. Zach Moss he's making things happen over there. So he's fighting for that spot.
My thinking in leaving that gap is this, because I was kind of trying to move off Chubb for the past couple weeks, and I couldn't really get anyone to bite in terms of like a 1-for-1 running back for running back. So me moving him for basically Kelce is what that trade is. And I think later on down the season, if I do need to make a move for a running back, I can get more value back from Kelce than I can from Chubb. Like I could definitely trade Kelsey tomorrow for an RB1. You know,
For sure.
Whereas Chubb, it's going to be a
For
hard
sure.
sell. Just same position, trading a running back for a running back. It's all depends on how you value
It's almost like
those
a
players in terms of like positional need. Like if I have someone who needs a tight end and who has 2 solid RB1s, Travis Kelsey for example, maybe like a CMC. You know, I'm trying to think of a couple other ones, but I think those are well within the realm of possibility later on in the season. So it gives me options, even though it leaves me in a huge hole in terms of my RB2. Like I said, I'm not looking at that spot as my second running back. It's literally like my flex that I have to play a running back in now.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
No doubt. So before we get any further into the roster discussion, Austin, can we go ahead and throw the segment up? Let's get that title card in here, and let's pull up. Welcome to the Gulag.
Hey, this Squid Games edit is so raw.
Hey, shout out Korea, man. All the best shit comes from Korea, bro. Hey, movies, music, people. I'm just kidding.
Korean barbecue.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
My boy's son, number 7 for Tottenham.
That's true.
Too.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast.
Facts. Hey, we're taking over, man. We're taking over. Be careful.
Sheesh. But but nah, Austin, can we pull Jeff's roster up on the screen just so everybody at home can kind of see? Maybe move us all around so it's not blocking anybody.
All right, we can't see you, bro.
Hey, I'm a ghost.
Almost. Could you flip me with Jeff? Could you make Jeff the big screen and then put his roster next to him? Possibly, my guy. But while Austin figures that out, let's look at your roster just, as if just in case, the trade doesn't go through. Yeah, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, Terry McScorin, T. Higgins, he should be coming back this week, right?
Yeah, I think he's coming off IR, or not IR, but coming back from his injury, shoulder injury. So
for sure. And then you got Darren Waller. All right. Can we? All right, here. I'll read it off real quick, Austin. I'll read it off real quick then, and then we can take it off the screen. I don't want to be blocking art too much. But then we also have Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Dalton Schultz, Tyler Boyd, and then let's see, like Daniel Jones, Alexander Madison, Devin Singletary. So, damn, yeah, you're stacked at tight end for sure.
He's got depth. He's got depth for sure.
Yeah, oh my goodness, that's pretty nuts, honestly, now that I'm really looking at it. Let's see. You also got my boy JJ Taylor. Okay, honestly, I think he's in the running to finish with like the most touchdowns from scrimmage out of all the running backs in the Patriots camp, honestly. I think he's
you
pretty
think so?
underrated.
Even after that fumble, bro?
I was about to say, as long as he's not in the doghouse for the next
you know what happens in those Belichick offenses, bro. You turn the ball over, you sit your ass.
I totally forgot about that fumble, to be honest with you. But yeah, as long as he's not in the doghouse for too long. I mean, Bolden obviously is going to be the person to own at the moment. I think like they're going to be rolling with him just to start, since he is the veteran and he's been, around the block for a little longer than some of these younger running backs. But I think, Taylor kind of has just like the fit, like the credentials, the mold of like a pass catching running back in a Patriots offense. So I like him as a little bench stash, honestly. I think he's as good of a bench stash as like Alexander Madison or, somebody else who you're only going to be using maybe a couple games towards the end of your season. Oh, that's perfect, Austin. Oh, it's perfect. But as far as having Kyler Murray goes, do you feel like that's like a big advantage every week because of the rushing upside, or would you have preferred to have gone somewhere else in the draft?
No, I'm super happy with that pick. I think I took Kyler in the 5th or the 6th round last year, and I think he ended up as the QB2 behind Patty. I'm like you, Zach. Like I usually wait for quarterbacks just because I think they're all relatively the same, like 5 through 12. Kyler's a different animal though. Like so here's how I look at Kyler. Like when you play my team, Kyler is one of those players that you look at on my roster when you're looking at the matchup. You're like, damn, I hope Kyler doesn't go for 40 this week. Every week. You know what I mean? So how many quarterbacks in the league do you really have that worry with? Him, Patrick Mahomes, that's pretty much it. And for Patrick to go, I think in the second round, and Kyler's going to give you relatively similar stats to get him in the 5th round, I think is a huge value. And, maybe not when I'm playing other teams that have top tier quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, Jared Allen, some of those other guys who went early. But when I'm playing a squad that has Sam Darnold, or they're streaming quarterbacks, or, even a player like maybe a Jalen Hurts who's going to have his great games, but he's going to have his duds too. I think you saw it last game. Like we blew the Rams out. Kyler had a pretty pedestrian game. I think he had 2 touchdowns and 300 yards.
Yeah.
And he's putting up still 26 points because of his rushing ability. I just think Kyler, for me, even over Patty, Kyler has the highest floor of any quarterback because of his rushing ability. And to get essentially the number 1 quarterback in the 5th round, I feel like that's obviously, I'm a huge Cardinals fan. Full disclaimer, I'm drafting Kyler, pretty much no matter what. If I have to reach for him,
so you're drafting him out of bias. You're drafting him out of bias.
I am,
but it's not a bad bias to have.
It's not the worst bias.
It's not the worst bias to have.
Like any other quarterback you take besides Patty in the 5th round is a reach, in my opinion. That includes Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, some of those other top tier guys. Because you can get, I don't know where Dak Prescott went this year, probably 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range. But
I was about to say, I feel like Dak is the only one that's could be on Kyler's level by the end of the year. You know what I mean?
And for me, it's just like I said, value. Obviously, I'm a huge fan, so I have him on a couple rosters this year. But to get him,
Cowboy offense is figuring it out, though. That's for sure.
For real.
Yeah,
they're figuring it out.
I'm gonna my toxic take. I'm gonna get more in depth on my guy K1 later, but yeah, I'm super happy with that position. Obviously, I think Chubb and Zeke, is a pretty formidable 1-2 punch at the running back.
So having Nick Chubb on your team, right? So here, are you worried at all that Kareem Hunt is capping his potential ceiling every week, or do you feel like they could coexist pretty well together? What's your take? What's your take on it? Because personally, I have my feelings, but
yes, that's why he is in said proposed trade right now. I think I watched the show. Was it last week or the week before where you were talking about Zeke, who obviously is also my running back in terms of the Tony Pollard situation.
Yeah.
So everyone's been talking about that. Twitter, YouTube, all these fantasy podcasts. That's been a hot topic. Is Tony Pollard?
Hey, they're calling that backfield thunder and lightning,
Yeah,
so.
But I don't know why Nick Chubb hasn't received that same hate that Zeke does, because I think Kareem is, in my opinion, a much more capable RB2 or backup running back, whatever you want to call him, than Tony Pollard.
Kareem's elusive. He's an elusive.
And his touches, you saw that last week, Chubb, I think went for he had a good game. He had 100 yards, but, Kareem ended up vulturing a touchdown. I think Kareem got at least 12 to 15 carries. So for me, that was just
he had 14 carries for sure,
which is a lot. Touchdown. So that's almost the time. That's almost an even split in terms of their timeshare. So that was, like I said, I like players who have a high floor, and I think Chubb is boom or bust. He's going to have a couple games this year where he probably goes for 100, 120 yards and has 2-3 touchdowns. But he's also going to put up those games like he did last week where he has 10, 11 points, and he's very touchdown dependent. So for me, 100%, that was a worry, and that's why I included him in that trade. I just think I wanted to move off him because, who knows where that backfield's going to end up by the end of the year. And I also think it's very game flow, game script dependent, him getting a lot of touches and him getting those goal line carries. So yeah,
Jeff,
a lot of risk involved there.
As a Cardinals fan, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on your backfield between Chase Edmonds and James Conner? James Conner's workload's going up. He's getting those red zone touches. I just want to know what do you think? What do you think? Where are you going?
So I mean, I think in terms.
Because I took James Conner in my draft, so I have him in 2 leagues, honestly.
From a real life NFL non-fantasy perspective, I like our backfield a lot because you have what happens in our offense. You have the Kyler Murray effect, right? It's like the Lamar Jackson effect as well. Like when you're running that read option,
Yeah.
Defenses have to commit an extra defender to account for the quarterback. So even when you're going up against stacked boxes, it's really not a stacked box because you have that extra defender who has to commit to the quarterback. So I think having Kyler as your quarterback elevates those running backs in terms of their production just because they're going to have more gaps to run through. If Kyler were not our quarterback and we had like a standard pocket passer, I think having Chase Edmonds and John Connor is well below league average in terms of the backfield.
Right.
But I think because Kyler brings that like read option dynamic to it, opening up those holes for those guys, you don't have to have like a superstar running back to perform. So I'm a huge Chase Edmonds fan. John Connor, I'm honestly not a huge fan of personally. He's a good goal line back, big, strong back, gonna give those goal line carries, get you those tough yards, those 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s, 3rd and 2s.
Hey, I mean, James Conner, when he had 50 yards, 18 carries, 2 touchdowns, went 2 for 2 for receptions.
But I mean, even if you look at that, he had almost 20 carries and he had 50 yards. So he's like,
he got an end zone.
I don't want to compare him to Chubb because Chubb is way better, but Connor's one of those guys who's going to be very game flow, game script dependent, and he's going to be very touchdown dependent.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like his ceiling lowered when he went to Arizona. Pittsburgh was running him through the roof, and he got back behind Chase Edmonds, and his ceiling just kind of lowered. The first 2 games, he did absolutely almost nothing, and in the past 2 games, he kind of peaked out, showed he was still there, still present, but he got in the end zone. So
Yeah. So I mean, I think in terms of, like I said, like real life non-fantasy perspective, with the way our offense is set up, James Conner and Chase Edmonds as your 1-2 punch is more than enough to get it done for what we need. You also have to take into account our receiving core. We have D-Hop, AJ Green, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk. So they're literally probably never going to go against an 8-man box, stacked boxes, because Cliff Kingsbury with that air raid offense is going to spread you out 3 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers, couple extra tight ends, split them out in the slot. So, defenses have to account for all that talent on the outside, which I think opens up things for
that saying 1-2 punch kind of scares me sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like, if that weren't the case, like if we didn't have Kyler as our quarterback and we weren't running kind of like a spread West Coast type offense, and we're running more of a traditional offense where our quarterback's under center every play.
No, Kyler's spreading the ball. He's spreading the ball.
Yeah, so I think in a vacuum, if all things are equal, that's like James Conner, Chase Edmonds is not strong, 1-2 punch. But I think the way our offense is set up with our scheme, I think they're more than enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
I feel like completely. As far as fantasy goes, though, I mean, Chase Edmonds, he's cool, but he's more of like a want to throw him in as your best bench player during like 5 weeks. And
I mean, as a Cardinals fan, obviously, like you said, like there's a reason why I don't have Chase Edmonds or James Conner on any roster on any fantasy team this year. So.
Yeah, I feel like Jeff said too. I feel James Conner, as far as like fantasy goes, even though he had like pretty good production the last 2 weeks, he's very boomer bust, as he said, touchdown dependent. And like we're talking about, most of the time, Kyler Murray is going to be that first option. He's going to be the first one to try to run the ball in. So, and half the time, Kyler Murray is going to be the one actually scoring it. But now, if we could, let's pull up Art's roster if we could, Austin. Let's pull up our Steelers roster. Let's see. Let's get a little rundown on what he was thinking constructing his team and how it's been going so far this season. And you can switch me with Art if you've got to put the thing over my face. It's cool. Pause. but now I'm honestly, I want to look at your team, Art, because I kind of want to maybe get Chris Carson from you, if I'm being honest, if you're willing to part with the boy. But
wow, Art, do that right now. Let's orchestrate a trade. Do that.
Hey, you
Don't-
guys know every fantasy. If I can get Chris Carson, I'm pulling the trigger on him. But the only thing with Chris Carson is the man is injury prone.
Bro, for real. I mean, he doesn't play more than what, like 9 games a season.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna give you the production, like 1,000 yards and 8-9 touchdowns, almost guaranteed as your floor. But like you said, it's only if he's actually. On
Do we have my bench available? I think I sent 2 screenshots. I don't know.
I believe so. Hold on, let me see. I believe the one that I sent had both. Let me just check with producer Austin real quick.
But yeah, Chris Carson. I love Chris Carson. I think he's a workhorse.
Oh, boom! Here it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. So let's see. Also, James Conner.
So, like I said, I have James Conner. I have the backs that are fighting for positions, and over the past 2 weeks, both of these guys have been producing. But it's hit or miss with those guys, James Conner and Zach Moss.
Sure.
I picked up Dawson Knox. I loved having a great backup tight end, and it's also I can package them in a trade if I need to. But right now, I'm happy with my team. But over the past 2 games, kind of had low scoring points. This week, I scored the lowest I've scored in fantasy. It was like 100 points. But that comes with the territory. It's fantasy, so things happen, but we'll see how this week goes coming forward.
For sure. Yeah. Austin, can we go back to the starters as well? I'm sorry, brother. You just flip back. Thank you, bro. So let's take a look right here. So if you could improve your roster in any way, shape, or form, are you not making any moves, or like where do you think you need to bolster your team a little bit? Would it be in the running back department? Would it be in the pass catcher department? What do you see?
I'm pretty confident in Chris Godwin and what that offense can do. DK Metcalf is showing through. Tyler Higbee is in a high-powered offense. I think as the season goes on, he's gonna catch his stride. I started Hunter Renfrow this weekend just because he's been a great value for me. I picked him up off the waiver wires, and this guy is playing every position. This guy is all over the field. Offense, special teams, defense.
That play he had where they did the fake
bro,
and he came up and popped him, bro.
Crazy. This man is all over the field.
Yeah, man. He's just a football player, man. Like I actually tried to pick up him off the waiver wire and you snagged him, I think, because you had a higher bid.
Yes.
But yeah, I love Hunter Renfrow. Yeah,
he was a solid pickup for me. But in the running back department, I'm willing to package a trade. That is for sure.
So in terms, okay, let's talk about Chris Carson. Let's go back to that. Like last game, I think Alex Collins got 15, 16 carries and outperformed him. Is that something that worries you going forward?
It doesn't worry me too much. I know that the coach, I know that Russell Wilson believes in Chris Carson, but Chris Carson is injury prone, and I think that they're willing to experiment with their other backs. So I just feel that I'm willing to package him in a trade. Chris Carson, no matter what, is always going to perform. But that injury history for me is definitely at this point, because I try and get him as much as I can in other leagues, is starting to kind of wear on me a little bit. But I believe in the guy through and through. He's a workhorse. But I think for the rest of the season, given their matchups, I think it's definitely something to look at. But I think he can definitely still produce quite a bit. Aaron Jones, for me, I took him fourth, so I can't. I'll die on that sword a little bit,
Okay, so here's my thing. Like, I like your roster. Like you said, I think you're 6th in points, so you're kind of like right in the middle of the pack right now.
I'm right in the middle of the pack.
So looking at your roster, I think you have a lot of players that have high floors. But kind of going back to what I said about Kyler Murray, in terms of like someone when you're playing against him, you look at the roster and you're like, damn, like Derrick Henry effect. Like, damn, I hope he doesn't go off for 40 this week.
Right.
I don't see, other than Aaron Jones. Obviously, I experienced that. You handed me my only L in his 40 something point game. You don't have a lot of players other than him that I look at your roster and like, damn, I hope that guy doesn't go for 35, 40 points, which isn't a bad thing necessarily because consistency is key in fantasy. But I think in terms of your roster construction, if you were looking to make moves, maybe you swap out one of your players that has that high floor, but kind of a lower ceiling, maybe for a player who has maybe a little bit higher ceiling in terms of their potential each week, but is a little more risky.
Right.
Like you said, exactly, like maybe packaging, Carson and Renfro. Carson, one of your flex players, or maybe just like a slight upgrade at that RB2, borderline RB1 position, where you have another player to pair with Aaron Jones, to where I look at your roster and I'm like, damn, I hope both of those guys don't go off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh yeah, I agree completely with what Jeff said. I mean, honestly, yeah, like I feel like Robert Woods should be like hitting his stride like sooner rather than later. Like I know he's been pretty underwhelming.
Cooper Kupp effects, bro.
And Van Jefferson too is like low key eating as well.
Yeah,
the Rams have a high powered offense. That's why I have two of those players starting.
Sure.
Granted, I don't really like taking too many players on the same offense. But honestly, I believe in what that Rams offense can do, especially with with Matt Stafford behind them. So I kind of just I like that offense, and I want pieces of them when I can. Granted, it's going to take some time to catch their stride, but I like Tyler Higbee and Robert Woods.
See, I kind of have the opposite opinion on that. Like, for instance, on my team, I have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and I like that stack.
And they're both going to eat.
And I like doing that in terms of maybe like one wide receiver core, like having two players on the same team, because they also act as handcuffs. Mm-hmm. For instance, like if Higbee goes down, obviously Woods is going to get more opportunity, or vice versa. Woods goes down, Higbee is going to get more pass catching opportunities. You saw that last week with Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins is out with a shoulder injury. I think Tyler Boyd goes for 9 catches, like 120 yards. So it's almost like a safety blanket where you're capping your ceiling to where if they're both in the game, they're both not going to put up 120 yards and a touchdown. But also it's like a safety valve in terms of, okay, if Higgins goes down, I still have Boyd, or vice versa. And I think that's the same thing with like Woods and Higbee. Obviously, you'd rather have Kupp, the most targeted player in that offense, but I don't think that's a bad move, having two players from the Rams in a high-powered offense, because, like I said, that's a safety net in terms of, and then obviously if Kupp goes down, those are going to be, obviously their 1A, 1B pass catchers. Yeah. So I don't mind stacking players on the same offense personally.
Hey, if I could have took Cooper Kupp, I would have got him. That's for sure.
Hey, right, for real. But shit. Anything else you want to say about your roster, Art, or?
I'm just gonna say this, bro. Kenyon Drake is trash, bro. I'm just gonna say it. He's on the Cardinals. Kenyon Drake is not.
Yeah, he's hot.
That's okay. I'm not hating. That's your last flex. So like,
I'm gonna be real with you. I fucking hate the guy too. He's on the Dolphins before the Cards. Like, dude, I'm glad he's off.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I concede to that for sure.
I've watched a lot of games where Kenyon Drake is the running back, and I literally can't remember one instance where he ripped off like a 50-yard run. Like never.
Nah, he shits the bed. So I could have picked better there, but it's all good.
But I like your wideouts, like Godwin and Metcalf as your 1 and 2 is going to be, more often than not a better wide receiver core than your opponent. I think Aaron Jones and Chris Carson is a pretty solid like 1-2 punch of the RB. Your team has good balance. Like I said, if I were in your shoes looking to make a move, I would just maybe get one of your high floor players and maybe move them for another player who has maybe a little bit higher ceiling, but is a little more riskier of a play. But I think overall, like Josh likes to talk shit about your squad, but I think your team is
Josh just likes to talk shit in general. Josh just
So we take that with a grain of salt. But looking at your roster and even your bench, you got Zach Moss on your bench.
I was about to say,
you had a couple other Yeah, I would start Zach Moss over Kenyon Drake all day, personally.
I picked up Hunter Renfrow off the waivers,
I will say
I'd probably start Dawson Knox, depending on the matchup as well, over the tight end that you have now.
And then Gronkowski was killing it for me until he got injured.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that he's not going to keep.
But honestly, I don't know how long Gronk could keep up that run that he was doing the first. Yeah. It's almost impossible, but he was killing it for me until he got injured. But we'll see what happens.
Sure.
So, Art, I'm gonna say one thing. Full disclosure. Okay, so the bet that we've been talking about, Art and I have basically a bet. I'm not gonna say how much it's for, but we have a bet in our league. Whoever scores the most points during the regular season pays out to the other one. I don't want to give you this advice, but I will for the sake of the Stat Daddy podcast. So you're six in points right now, right?
Yeah.
I think with a little bit better in-season management in terms of your roster and the waivers, you could be maybe 5-3 right now. Look at your bench right now. You have Slayton, you have Gronk, and you have Valdez-Scantling. All those players can go on your IR. If you look at my roster, my 2 IR spots are filled. That's 2 more spots that you can add players off waivers. And just even if you don't use them, just hold them and you don't have to start them, but hold them and see how they perform. And then if they do end up booming, then you can keep them on your roster and drop a different player. It's just free. It's free lottery tickets, moving those players into your IR and allowing you to have 2 more players. So waivers process in what, an hour? I would move those players to your IR immediately. And I would put in a shit ton of waiver wire claims for just dart throws that you think are players who could be, maybe a little bit better later on in the season.
My guy. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the advice. And it's going to be a fun season, especially with our bet on the hinges. So I'll definitely look into that for sure.
Facts. Sorry, I totally forgot waivers were clear.
Zach, are we ever gonna talk about your squad at all? Or?
I was just about to say, I don't want to, honestly. I don't want to cut anybody off. You feel me? Because I have a lot to say about my squad. Honestly, if I'm being
that flex is empty. I can see that.
Yeah, I hate. Oh yeah. My bad. It wasn't taking that into consideration during the photo. Dude, it might as well be fucking empty. My team's going to shit. So yeah, let's see how my team. So I started off my draft with Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and then my 3rd round pick was AJ Bus Brown. You know what I mean? Just ain't doing shit for me so far this season. But
I got AJ.
Let's touch on that. Let's touch on that though while we're talking about your team, Zach, because I saw your episode last week where you and Josh had the argument between AJ Brown and Mike Evans. Let's get into that a little bit. Let's unpack it because I disagree with you. Or is your opinion changing? Is your opinion changing based on what you just said?
I mean it was from 2 weeks ago before this dude fucking pulled his hamstring and was out for a week or two. So that obviously doesn't help him at all. You know what I mean? He's got to be on the field for him to help my bet. But no, I still stand by the sentiment of AJ Brown is a better wide receiver than Mike Evans in my,
This is nah, bro. You're tripping, bro.
For sure. As far
you are tripping, bro. I hate agreeing with Josh Alonde on anything. I hate agreeing with Pequeno Poppy, but you're tripping, bro. You are tripping.
As far as a fantasy football wide receiver, dude, have you ever owned AJ Brown and have him put up points for you? He puts.
I own him right now. He's on my bench. He is on my bench in another league.
That's also because he's injured. Okay, and I can't predict injuries. Okay, if I would have predicted an injury, I wouldn't have fucking bet on the guy a week before, obviously. But no. I still stand by the sentiment that when healthy, AJ Brown is a better fantasy football wide receiver than Mike Evans and or his teammate right now, because he's teammates, not because he has the Falcons to himself, but his teammate Julio Jones. Now I'm all frustrated and shit. All pissed off.
Okay, let's talk about that though real quick. All in a vacuum, all things being equal.
Oh, AJ Brown's a wide receiver 1 for sure.
But AJ Brown may.
Let's also account for the X factor. Tom Brady is throwing.
That's what I wanted to say, bro. In a vacuum, all things being equal,
Tom Brady's throwing that ball.
But when you compare Ryan Tannehill Tom Brady, and then you have a Bruce Arians like offense that spreads it out and throws the ball 40 times a game, where you have Tannehill throwing it maybe 25 to 30 times max a game. That's literally 15 more pass attempts that you're getting on a Bucks wide receiver. You also have
exactly.
I don't know. I just think it's not that close.
Derrick Henry
personally,
is the Titans' offense.
Yeah.
So
but
with
up until
that being said, you know,
I mean, up until he got hurt week 2 and then was out week 3 and week 4, or got injured and wasn't participating during the week 3 game. Like I said, he had a decent week 1, still put up 15 points. So I don't know if that's with or without getting into the end zone. Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, honestly, AJ Brown, I'm gonna stick by it. He's a wide receiver 1 on any given week, and Mike Evans had to share an offense with Gronkowski, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, like everybody. So I still prefer AJ Brown to a Mike Evans, especially whenever Chris Godwin is the better wide receiver of the two.
But the thing is, with you saying that, the Bucks offense has so many weapons, somebody has to get covered. And Mike Evans is going to catch the ball at a certain clip, at a certain rate.
And I'm looking. Okay, so I'm looking at AJ. Look at where did you draft AJ Brown? 3rd round? 2nd round?
3rd round going into
3rd round.
End of the 3rd round.
Here's my thing: like potential, yes, it's there. I'm looking at his numbers from 2020. You know, he had 106 targets, 70 catches for a little over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. So if I'm looking at that targets, so like we say in fantasy, like you can predict targets, catch rate, touchdowns are random, right? Touchdowns are unpredictable. So if I'm taking his 10 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns out of the picture, and I'm looking at, okay, he only got 100 targets. You know, his catch rate is good. He caught 70 of those balls. But if I'm looking at 70 catches for 1,000 yards for a receiver that I took in the 3rd round, that's where I got players like Darren Waller, Scary Terry. I think I took in the 4th.
Yo, Scary Terry was a great value for you, though, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That was a great value for you. He's outperforming.
I mean, I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad I put him in that trade, but like I said, I think we already touched on why he was in there. But, you know, I agree. He was my wide receiver 1, and based on how my draft played out, me taking those 2 running backs, I knew I was going to have to hit on the wide receiver in those, 3rd through 6th round range, and I don't want to say that I got lucky.
I might be your next trade. You want Chris Carson? What's up? You need a running back.
I mean, I need a running back. I need an RB2. What's up? I mean, we can talk about we can talk about that offline, or maybe when Pequeño Papi shows up, if he ever shows up.
Where is this man?
Right? Who knows?
What time is it? It's 11:15.
It's cupcake season. It's cupcake season.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
If we're gonna continue on with my roster, fucking AJ Brown, fucking bust, dope. But with the target share that he had, I think he had like a 35 to 40% target share in an offense. Where he was also getting double team, triple team, and still catching the ball. And then you add Julio, so I thought, they're gonna take away coverage from him, but got to be healthy. But regardless of that,
both of these guys pull their hamstring. It's crazy.
So I heard you say that on the last podcast. You're harping on his target share, which is high, 30-35%, whatever you said it was. Yeah. But going back to what we just said, where he's in an offense where they're throwing the ball half as much as another team. So even though he has a 35% target share, it's in a low volume passing attack. So that like if we were to equal that out in terms of like the system they're in, that's probably like being in an offense with like a 20 or 25% target share. That's
it's actually
passes the ball more.
Actually, they run the ball 50. Let's see, they run the ball
a lot. They have Derrick Henry though.
Well, yeah, but a lot. If you look at it, I have the numbers right here. If you look at a neutral game script, which is with the Tennessee Titans within being up by 7 or down by 7, they throw the ball 54% of the time, and they only run the ball 45% of the time. Which, granted, is within the bottom 10 of the league, but they're still throwing the ball pretty consistently. They're not running it as much as you think in a neutral game script. And I don't know, just whenever you really get, like, in my opinion, what the numbers I'm looking for.
But you just said the keywords there that you just said is in a neutral game script. Like,
yeah, which is the most predictable.
Hey, since we're on the Titans right now, can we talk about a former tight end receiver, Corey Davis, who went 4 for 7 for 111 yards and a touchdown in a crazy game script?
Bro,
that game was crazy.
He's been shown out. That was one of those players that was completely, personally for me, off my draft radar. Like, I was not even considering him in any league whatsoever, regardless of where he fell to me. And
man's a hustler.
Yeah, he's been proving me wrong. Like, he's pretty much the only Jets player that's putting up, solid numbers right now.
I mean, granted, it's the Jets, but
it's fantasy. It don't matter.
But it's fantasy, exactly. It doesn't matter.
Compared to the staff and who they have on the Jets, like, he's a veteran too. So he's kind of like their go-to guy. He's been around. Him and Jamison Crowder have been around the longest, probably.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about Jamison. He had a good game. He had a good game last week.
He had a good game.
Yeah,
but 4 out of 7 catches for 111 yards. The man balled out and a touchdown.
Yeah.
He
had a couple good games.
I think he had 2 touchdowns in the first game in season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was popping off.
He's letting the Jets know what's up. That's for sure.
But no, real quick, let's just run through this and get it over with.
Zach, let's get back to your roster, bro. I want to ask you a question. Okay, so you have a lot of running backs on your bench right now.
So
who maybe right now during the season are not the most valuable commodities, but you have Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, Marlon Mack, even. So let's talk about Marlon Mack for a sec, because I know he was a big waiver wire ad this last week. Like, what do you see happening with him?
Honestly, I expect him to get traded from the Colts at some point before they're not allowed to anymore this season, like within the next couple of weeks. I think that's why he's also getting like 10 carries. They gave him like 10 carries last week. I think they're just trying to like get him some more work just to show like, hey, like he's still.
But do you see him going into a team where he automatically takes over as like the unquestioned 3-down back, or do you see him going to like San Francisco Ravens to a running back committee where he's still going to be a question mark?
I don't know, but as you can tell by my squad, I need all the help I can get at running back.
What do you mean, bro? You have Austin Eckler and Najee Harris as your you don't need backs.
No, I need something. I need anything to be thrown into, because what I'm comfortable with.
It's your wide receivers that need help, bro. It's not your backs.
Okay, if I could, speak.
Darrell Henderson is injury prone, though. That's the thing. Darrell Henderson he's got that pre-existing injury.
No, I mean, but it wasn't an issue for him last week at all. Whenever he played just fine, he took his number 1 role right back. Sony Michel wasn't a factor. I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah, Darrell Henderson had 14 carries for 89 yards or something like that.
He had a good game against us.
Yeah,
he had a good game. He was one of the only Rams players who had a good game, I think.
I think that he's kind of the unquestioned, like not necessarily a workhorse, but the guy that they want to be using most of the time in the offense. Especially like it seems like Stafford trusts him already. Everybody else in the offense kind of trusts him because he was running with them last year, even though he wasn't necessarily the guy last year. But I mean, since Cam Akers went down pretty early in the season, I felt like he was, pretty much had the role comfortably in his lap, and he's done pretty well to, just do well. He's had I think 1.5 to 2 explosive plays a game on his own as well. So I'm not too upset about the pick. Brandon Cooks paid off for me way more than I thought he would. I was a little upset with the pick whenever I was actually drafting. But Deontay Johnson, I love the pick. He has an insane target share. He's like
insane.
Antonio Brown, light for the Steelers right now. He's whenever you're like, hey mom, can we please go get Antonio Brown? Let's go get Antonio Brown. And she's like, oh no, we have Antonio Brown at home. It's Deontay Johnson.
And you got Deontay Johnson on your bench. He's arguably their wide receiver 1. So
no, he starts him.
No, I'm definitely starting him every week. I have to start him.
He's on your bench right here, but yeah.
If Big Ben weren't just like a pile of garbage right now, he would obviously be probably a wide receiver
Dude,
one.
Oh
that's
no,
another
no,
thing.
just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. Then Big Ben, I don't know if he's going to be starting next week or not. What's going on with that? He got injured during the game. He has a hip injury, so they're seeing what's going
Sidebar
on.
hot take on your roster. I see Marquez Callaway, which sparks a question for me, for both of you.
Yeah.
The Saints offense, Michael Thomas is going to be coming back in 2 weeks. Do you think he's going to be the Michael Thomas of old? Do you think
Yes.
he's just – you do?
I do personally.
Because in my other league, I have a trade pending on he's packaged in that I'm going to be receiving Michael Thomas. So I just want to know, you guys think Michael Thomas is going to come back and show out?
I do personally. I've been trying to buy low on Thomas in multiple leagues the past couple weeks.
Same.
That's just me personally. I think with Jameis Winston now under center instead of Drew Brees. Drew Brees, I think we saw towards the latter half of his career him being hesitant to push the ball deep down the field, where Alvin Kamara was his safety net, and he would utilize him, often, early and often. I think with Jameis Winston, you have more of kind of a gunslinger mentality, someone who wants to push the ball down the field.
He's going to drop it for 50-yard pass.
Maybe he won't get as many targets as he did under Breeze, because I know under Breeze he did a lot of that short route, underneath stuff, quick slants. I think they're going to utilize him more down the field in terms of maybe throwing him a couple more 50-50 balls. And obviously they vacated a lot of players off their roster from last year. I think Thomas is going to be the unquestioned number one coming back, and I think he's going to get a lot of looks. That's my personal opinion.
Hey, I hope so. I got him packaged in the trade, so I'll be receiving Michael Thomas. So I hope you're right.
For sure. Honestly, Michael Thomas, I expect him to come back and be at least 80% of what he was before, which is still a lot more than most. But I just don't know if the timetable is necessarily 2 weeks. Like, they keep saying it's going to be soon, but with Michael Thomas, you never know. I got burned last season because they kept saying,
I agree. But also keep to play devil's advocate. Keep that in mind. Like, Michael Thomas was the unquestioned. I saw him go number one overall in a lot of PPR drafts last year.
That's true.
You don't just go from being literally the number one overall pick to like a scrub.
There's a couple people, David Johnson.
Running backs, yes.
Like
David Johnson, I think you can make that argument for. Obviously, he's had a huge drop off. Wide receivers, I think, are a little more consistent.
I'm trying to let David Johnson go right now.
Yeah, bro. If you're starting David
Johnson. Shout out the Texans for giving us D-Hop for David Johnson. I just want to say thank you.
Bro, that was
thank you.
What a
Thank you very
value.
much. I appreciate you. It's brought much joy to our fan base, to our city. Shout out Houston Texans. Just team players.
Appreciate that, everybody. Dude, fucking Texans, man. I can't believe they almost got the Dolphins for our picks right before all this stuff came out for Deshaun Watson. I was like, damn, they almost robbed us. They almost got away with it.
Good old Deshaun.
Sheesh. But Austin, you can take my bum ass team off the screen. No, but honestly, I'm just like plagued by injuries. I had Gus Edwards to begin the year as well, who also got injured.
That Ravens backfield is just cursed,
bro. The top three running backs all tearing their ACLs. Like, come on, man. Like,
Ravens backfield this year is just cursed.
Dude, for real. Right now.
What do you? I mean, you think Latavius Murray's going to be healthy throughout the year? I don't know. With the way that
I do personally. I don't like
yeah.
Latavius, but I think he's been a workhorse in other systems before, so I don't really see him.
No, for sure.
A player you have to worry about getting injured every season.
I think he's guaranteed to give you like 60 yards a game whenever he's starting as like the primary, and it looks like him and Tyson are going to be swapped out frequently as far as the hot hand goes. So I mean, he's not the worst you could do. I think he's definitely going to get way more work than like Le'Veon Bell or Devonta Freeman or some of those guys.
But so what happened with that this past weekend? Because Tyson Williams was a healthy scratch. They elevated Le'Veon off the practice squad. Is that going to be a trend that you think is going to continue, or do you think they're going to shuffle him back into the active roster?
I don't know, because that dude cannot pass block for shit. Tyson Williams, like, he was blowing a lot of his coverages. So personally, I don't know. I'm glad I didn't trade for him with you, Jeff.
Hey, Latavius Murray, he found the red zone. He got him for a touchdown. 18 carries. Yeah, 54 yards. So
Tyson Williams, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's honestly why I was trying to move him, because I knew that first game he had was probably going to be maybe one of his better games of the season. I was just trying to sell high to get any value from him, but now he's just going to be someone who's on the end of my bench that, you know, I may have to start, you know, depending on barring injury or whatever. But
I feel that completely.
Sometimes you have to have players on your bench that are just for bye weeks, bro. You know, that's just fantasy. And that's just fantasy.
I think that's my biggest problem in this league, because this is the first league that I drafted for this year, and just like I said, a lot of stuff didn't work out. Like Gus Edwards getting hurt. I think like 2 weeks ago I had 4 or 5 of my starters all get hurt the same week and were injured.
Yeah.
Fucking the fucking 49ers backfield just being a fucking mess. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, I don't know if he's going to be the number one. I don't know if Trey Sermon's coming up.
Let's touch on that real quick. Zach, are you upset that you spent like $80 of your fab on Elijah Mitchell? You're not upset?
Not at
all. I would be a little salty.
No, because I don't really care about my fab like at all, because I feel confident enough that most of the time throughout the season, if I'm picking somebody up off the waiver wire, it's gonna be a decent running back within the first 2 to 3 weeks, and then after those 2 to 3 weeks, there's not really gonna be a running back that's going to be popping up out of nowhere who's going to have like a workhorse role most of the time, you know what I mean? That's not already rostered or being stashed on somebody's bench. And it's usually just going to be a pass catcher or me streaming a tight end. And as we talked about before, like the difference between certain positional players, like from 12 to like 24, is like 1 to 2 points any given week. So I'm not too concerned about it. So if I have to end up streaming somebody, like I'm already in a pretty shitty position, I try to draft to ensure that I don't have to stream anybody. It's just unfortunate I had so many injuries to start off the year, and then now they seem to be fucking lingering and shit's not as clear. A lot of my flyers didn't hit. Marquez Callaway for the beginning of the year I thought was going to be a stud while Michael Thomas was out. He hasn't done shit. He had one decent game where he had like a long bomb touchdown, only reason why he put up points, stuff like that. So I'm not too upset that I spent my budget on what could have been with Elijah Mitchell. And honestly, he could still be the lead back in this offense. You really never know. But I mostly picked him up too just so other people couldn't. Like, if I'm being real, like if he did turn out.
But touching on the 49ers offense, since I caught that in passing, Deebo Samuel this weekend had a game.
Well, he's been having crazy games.
Yeah, he's been having.
He's one of the better route runners in the NFL. Like
do you see how crazy
he went 8 for 12 receptions this year, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. He killed it this weekend.
I will say though, like 60 or 70 of those yards was on a blown assignment by the secondary. I don't know if you guys saw that. But
yeah, exactly.
No, of course.
Even without that, he would have had a good game. But I do think, me personally, if I had Deebo Samuel on my team right now, I would be trying to sell high for sure.
I mean, I have him in another league. I might sell high on him, but honestly, he's one of the best route runners in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I'd put him quite up there yet, but he's on his way.
He's proven himself. He's had efficient last couple games, and he's catching all the balls that are being thrown his way. But I think
the man's efficient.
I think Kittle's eventually going to get like introduced back into this offense in some sort of capacity. And then
George Kittle went 4 for 11 this weekend, right? 40 yards.
To me, that's promising though, because you get 11 targets in a run-heavy offense. That means they're trying to get you the ball.
He gets the target share for sure. It's there. It's for sure there.
Especially when it comes to tight ends, that's all you want. Like at the end of the day, like if they're 100%. Getting targets, like a target share like that, 11 targets, 8 targets a game, I'd rather roll the dice on that, whether he's catching like less, like 40% of them or not. Like I could care less. It's just the fact that he has that opportunity, and like a George Kittle, he has that big play explosion. Maybe not as much as he used to, but he's still somewhat elusive, at least considering tight end position. But I don't know. I just hope fucking Brandon Ayuk actually gets a target share, because, like I said, he was one of the fucking better rookies last year, man.
I don't think that's gonna happen, bro.
Dude, he was so good last season. He's literally this year's Dante Pettis, and I fell for it. Like I was fuck, man. They just like using these wide receivers for the rookie year. They're like,
I don't know, but bringing up that target share, he had 11 targets.
Only made
that brings me back to me picking up Dawson Knox off the waiver wire. He had 8 targets, picked up 5 of them with an offense with Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders. The man, he's getting targeted. So
Oh no, for sure, yeah. He's doing what they drafted him to do last season. Now he's just
exactly. So tight ends with a high target share. I don't know. I just feel like tight ends, the spot is kind of like slept on.
Dude, I mean, even on the waiver wire this week too, there's like 4 or 5 different tight ends that are worth actually consideration of picking up. I mean, in our league, it's a little tougher too because we're a 12-man league with an extra bench spot with 2 IR spots and
2 flexes
and everyone
three flexes.
Yeah,
3 flexes. Yeah, just kidding.
Yeah,
3
everyone's
flexes.
everyone's trying to be a sharp all the time too and just pick up.
Okay, so in that, let's touch on that. That goes back to why I made the trade for Kelsey. And you guys see my roster. Like I have, if this trade goes through, let's say it does, just for the sake of argument. I have Darren Waller, Travis Kelsey, Dalton Schultz. That's 3 of the top 4 tight ends in terms of ranking right now. My strategy moving forward, like we said, going back to like positional scarcity, I'm going to corner the market on tight ends to where I may or may not end up having 4 to 6 tight ends on my roster at one point, just matchup dependent. So I'm slotting in Waller and Kelsey against a guy who has to literally stream.
I'm all for that.
Like
I'm
a 20 to 30 ranked tight end. And that automatically gives me such a huge edge at that position slot. Like that's one of my was part of why I made that trade in terms of like moving off one of my better running backs to acquire that, because I'm like you said, with the way our league is set up with 3 flexes, couple extra bench spots, 2 IRs, like I'm gonna put you on. My strategy moving forward is, if you guys don't have a tight end locked in right now as your tight end 1, you're gonna have to be streaming a tight end 4.
And that's why I'm like-minded. I drafted 3 tight ends in our draft. I might have been tight end heavy, but I feel the same ideology as you, to be honest with you. If you're missing a running back or your tight end's injured, I'll package it in a trade, or I can flex it, or it just depends. I can move it around.
I don't know. I agree with like the sentiment, but I feel like in order to do so, like it would work out in your case having like the tight end 1 and 2 already locked up. But like if you're not getting like the tight end, like I don't know, 3 or 4 next, and then so on and so forth.
But it depends how you drafted your team. It depends who you pick up off waiver wire.
Well, he's saying that he's going to try to get 6 tight ends on his like roster.
That was just a hypothetical, but I'm saying.
I mean, that's a little heavy. That's a little heavy.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, yo, that's what I was kind of referring to. I'm like, because from like.
I mean, but with the 3, when if you're in a league with like 1 or 2 flex spots, then yeah, that's like really dumb. But in our league where you have 3 flexes and you have a bunch of bench slots, I don't think it's – you may see me run out a roster later this year where I'm starting Darren Waller, Travis Kelsey, Dalton Schultz, and maybe like 1 more tight end that I picked up.
We do have a unique league as far as format goes, to be honest. So I feel that.
As far as that goes, like Waller and Kelsey, like, yeah, for sure. But just for people at home, like just for us talking, like I wouldn't recommend it unless you, like I'm saying, is have the setup you do. Where you
right.
Where it is a Darren Waller and a Travis Kelsey who are some of the best pass catchers in the league, regardless of wide receiver or tight end. But like for the average person in like the average league, you know, I wouldn't recommend having more than 2 tight ends, like 2 or 3 tight ends on your roster at any given.
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying with my case specifically, I see a weakness. And I'm gonna exploit it moving forward.
But yeah, your tight end setup is nasty. Like if you were to play Travis Kelsey and Darren Waller at your flex, like that's a flex of its own. You know what I
mean? No pun intended.
No, for real, it like really is. Like that's like a nasty setup. Like, but with like you're talking about with your roster, like if that trade were to go through, a little thin at running back, I'd be concerned starting Devin Singletary for much longer. So I would see, like you said, like another running back trade being in the works within the next couple of weeks. But I think you're already well on your way to winning the league with that trade, especially if like with Devontae Adams being added to the squad as well. Like you have players that are all like could put up 20 to 30 points comfortably within a given week. And that's kind of what you want regardless of position. As long as you have them like starting, like why not?
You have a lot of depth in your roster, that's for sure. And honestly, you know, we got a bet going on, so
yeah. You sweating? Is that I see You know,
No,
Morris yet?
no. I'm all for it. I want all the smoke, but you have a lot of depth in your roster, and I might lose to you. But just know I'm here for it.
hey, respect.
But wrapping up the roster roast, honestly, or if you can even call it that, because honestly, it was pretty civil conversation since Josh wasn't here.
Like you said, yeah, we don't have the toxic member of our quartet in attendance yet, so.
Exactly,
Hey, but when he is present, it is toxic for sure, and it's fun,
Yeah.
Has anyone talked to him, by the way? Like, where is he?
I could FaceTime him right now, but he's gonna be like, I'm with such and such.
I'll FaceTime him right now.
Yeah, but no, yeah. I appreciate the input on my squad, honestly. AK, my shit's just kind of fucked from the start. I just threw darts at the board and it didn't hit. I got good running backs, but everything else is kind of falling apart.
No, your team's solid, bro. Your team is solid.
I'm like fourth. I think I'm third or fourth in points put up so far. But
your team's solid.
It's a very hit or miss squad. I'm gonna have to rely on the usual strategy of just being lucky enough for people to have the worst week against me. But hey. I definitely see your guys' two squads like as playoff potential for sure. Jeff, if this trade goes through, like Jeff's squad a little more so than yours are still. But
hey, Buddy's dangerous, that's for sure.
Dude, for real, Buddy is dangerous. But hey, I think you're also one move away from honestly locking up a playoff spot, almost guaranteed. Because with DK Metcalf coming into his own, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And just starting anybody but Kenyon Drake would also be a huge improvement as well.
I gave him a chance this week. It's early in the season, but he's definitely gonna get. I'm probably gonna drop him. I'm gonna drop him.
Whenever you do bad enough for Peyton Barber to come in and look like a stud when averaging like 3 yards a carry, like you're doing something wrong, dog. They literally gave a man averaging 3 yards a carry like 25 chances because they didn't want to give it to Drake.
Hey, he had a good game though.
Yeah, he had a good game.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But if you're running
Josh Jacobs did his thing too. He did all right.
For real.
Josh Jacobs did all right.
Shouts out Josh Jacobs. Nothing wrong with him. I was expecting him to do better this year, but obviously injuries are playing.
Hey, Josh Jacobs caught 100% of his targets. He went 5 for 5 for receptions. So respect.
Hey, it's nice seeing him catching passes too. Honestly,
exactly.
But before we get out of here, I just want to get some of your guys' toxic takes. Honestly, it's my favorite part of the show, and. We may not even get into mine at least because we're a little short on time and mine honestly isn't that toxic of a take, but I was curious to see what you guys brought to the table. Jeff, what's your toxic take of for today?
I mean, I gave you guys a little sneak preview. I mean, it's not even that toxic. Even if I weren't a Cardinals fan, I think this is coming from an unbiased perspective. Honestly,
it's gonna be
hands down. Kyler Murray is the most gifted athlete to ever step foot on a football field. Period. Would you like
you do know Patrick Mahomes exists, right?
I do, and Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but I'm talking about.
Granted, his season is not up to.
Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but I'm talking about just athletic potential, bro. Okay, so let me lay this out for you, bro.
Okay, let's hear this.
Okay, so let's go through Kyler Murray's just like well-known accolades, and then we can kind of talk about some numbers.
Let's go through Patrick Mahomes' contract.
Or how about Jerry Rice used to catch bricks when he was a child? Like they were bricks in my
all that aside. Let me get this out. Okay. Heisman Trophy winner, #1 overall pick. We got dual sport athlete who was drafted in the first round, top 10 in the first round of the NFL and Major League Baseball. You have obviously like win-loss column aside, who is the most electric player on Sunday? When you wake up on Sunday, if there's a couple games you have to choose, not obviously you're gonna watch the teams that you have players on your fantasy team, right? But if you're waking up on Sunday early and you have a couple different games to watch, like who's the most electric player in the NFL right now? In terms
Just
of
one second. You said a Heisman Trophy pick, first round, number 1 pick. You know who else did that? Reggie Bush.
Yeah. Did Reggie Bush play baseball and get drafted number 9 overall by the Oakland A's?
I'm just saying.
Okay, what's Reggie Bush's 40 time? Let's talk about that since we're talking about speed and we're talking about running backs.
I don't know.
I don't know. Look it up right now. You got a phone.
Did Reggie Bush did he win a Super Bowl?
I don't know. Off the top of my head. Kyler runs a 4.2.
Reggie Bush. Yeah, that's a Reggie
Kyler
Bush
runs a 4.2. He ran a 4.30. Kyler Murray ran a 4.3 flat in 2017.
I'm just saying Reggie Bush has a lot of those same stats, my guy.
Okay, just for perspective though, for reference, Lamar
I'm just saying.
Lamar Jackson's 40 time is a 4.34, and then we had Michael Vick who ran a 4.33. So you have Kyler who's coming in roughly, possibly, maybe a full 1/10 of a second under the 2 most gifted quarterbacks of all time athletically. I think Michael Vick is in the conversation.
But 40-yard times only matter for wide receivers and running backs. Is he a quarterback or is he a running back? I don't know.
He's both.
He's got to get the ball there. He's got to get the target there. He's Lamar Jackson is a multi-asseted quarterback. So is Patrick Mahomes.
Kyler Murray is hands down a 1,000 times better quarterback than Lamar Jackson in terms of passing.
No, absolutely.
There's no comparison. And then on top of that, he's faster. His short area quickness, I think maybe you could argue that it's similar to Lamar, but being 5'8", 5'9", I think in terms of like I don't know what like his shuttle times were and stuff like that, but I think his short area quickness is much better than Lamar personally. Okay.
As a quarterback, your job is to get the ball into receivers' hands. Okay.
So he leads the number 1 offense in terms of points scored and yards so far.
For first 4 games, it's a long season.
That trend is going to continue, bro. Like,
especially
if you want to make another bet, right now on the Stat Daddy podcast, okay, pick a quarterback. Pick a quarterback other than Patrick Mahomes who you think is going to have more total yards than Kyler Murray this year.
There's a couple.
There's really not, though.
There's one or two other ones we could think of.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Kyler Murray is Kyler Murray is the all-time talent, one of the best talents we've seen at quarterback in the NFL. I totally agree. But I'm just saying, as a quarterback, your job is to get the ball in receivers' hands, whether it be receivers, tight ends, play action, dumping it off for screens.
I would disagree with that statement, though. As a quarterback, your job is to lead your team to a victory by any means necessary. And if that means he has to use his feet as well to move the chains,
Russell Wilson did it. Well, Russell Wilson did it. So,
I'm sorry. I wish Josh was here right now so we could get into this too, but there's no comparison between Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. There's really not, bro. They're similar, but I think Kyler Murray is better than Russell in every aspect of his game. Except for football intelligence. Russ has a very high IQ, but in terms of their physical tools and in their numbers, both in college and in the NFL, like look at them side by side. Like there's no comparison. And Kyler Murray is younger and he still has 5, 6, 7 more years to reach his peak.
But you're saying
Kyler Murray is a huge talent.
You're essentially saying though that Kyler Murray is the most gifted football player of all time. Like that's
no, I said most gifted athlete. Yes, he's also one of the most well-decorated. Yeah, one of the most well-decorated athletes prior to entering the NFL of all time. Have you guys seen Kyler Murray's high school highlights?
Well, nah, I can't admit that I have, but I don't know.
Okay,
just because if we're talking all the time, there's I don't know. Like there's some of the older guys too that like Bo Jackson, like Deion Sanders.
But let's get into that though. So I have numbers right here in front of me. So Bo Jackson, his 40 time. So he's probably faster than Kyler. It wasn't a laser time; it was a hand time. But Bo Jackson has a recorded 40 of 4.19. He's also a dual sport athlete. He's the only athlete. Bo Jackson is the only athlete ever to win MVP in both the NFL in the MLB, if I'm not mistaken.
Because I'm just like I'm not saying like it's like outside the realm of possibility. Because
But for me to say this, as generations change, the talent gets better. So the people before him, Kyler Murray, he can outdo some of these people. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
I think you're just calling it a little early. Like, and it's okay to be
a little early.
You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I'm not talking about wins and losses in overall like passing yards and touchdowns. I'm just saying in terms of like being an athlete. He's the most gifted athlete to ever step on a football field.
That's why I say I still think it's a little too early
to
say
that. It could be. Okay, so let me read some stats. Let me change your opinion.
Hold on. With your bias under that, as we all know, you're a Cardinals fan. You saying that about Kyler Murray is the same thing as me saying Justin Herbert could potentially be the next Tom Brady.
I don't disagree with that in terms of like pure pocket passer quarterback.
Because I don't think
has to go on to be able to make these statements. Kyler Murray's in what, his third year?
Third year.
Yeah. See, like I think it's a little.
He's a great talent. He's a great.
But you guys are saying, okay, here's my argument though, because you guys are saying, okay, he hasn't done enough in the NFL to be considered the greatest athlete ever. I'm not saying quarterback. I'm saying athlete. So let's talk about it.
Like,
so you're saying he hasn't done enough yet. Okay, so let me read you some stats from his high school career. He was a 3-year starter at I believe it was Allen High School in Dallas, Texas. He went 42-0 as a starter in high school, undefeated. He won 3 state championships. His senior year, he was Gatorade National Player of the Year, consensus 5-star recruit, top dual threat quarterback, and Mr. Football of Texas twice. So that's just in high school. Let's get into college real quick. 2018 Heisman winner, AP National Player of the Year. He won the Manning Award, which goes to the top quarterback. He won the Earl Campbell Award, which goes to the top offensive player. He's the only FBS player ever in the history of college football to average 300 passing yards a game and over 70 rushing yards a game. He joined Deshaun Watson as the only 2 players ever to record 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in a single college football season. He led the nation his senior year in total yards, points responsible for, yards per completion, yards per pass attempt, and he was the first and only quarterback ever to rush for over 100 yards against a Nick Saban coach defense.
I have a couple things.
I'm talking about athlete.
But like,
who has a resume that's like that?
Did you say NFL or just the best football player to ever touch a football field?
Pound for pound, he is the best athlete to ever step on a football field.
All right, so hold on. You do know Antonio Gates played college basketball, right? Hold on.
Did he get drafted to the NBA?
No. Hold on. I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying. That's your argument.
LeBron James played football in high school. Allen Iverson played football in high school. Are you talking about the NFL? Are you talking about the NFL, or you just said he's the best athlete to step foot on a football field? LeBron James is a better athlete.
No, in the NFL. LeBron James is not in the NFL.
Correct your statement. You know what I'm saying? You said the football field. There's a lot of athletes that have stepped foot on a football field.
I'm talking about like
NFL. Say NFL.
This is the NFL podcast.
Okay. Well, you said football field, my guy. I'm just saying. So you want toxic take? I'm gonna give you some toxic answers.
Okay. Well, I even if LeBron were to be a dual sport athlete, I don't think he would have been a top 10 pick in both in the NFL.
Because I think honestly, Jeff, it's all about like for the statement you're making, it's more about longevity and how long they can keep it up at like a peak performance, peak level. And Kyler only in his 3rd year, like this could be his best season yet. And then like it can only, maybe it goes up from here. Who knows? Maybe he just gives us the numbers he's been giving us, whatever. I just need to see it for a longer period of time. Like,
I'm not hating on that, but I'm just saying there's all these athletes, Bo Jackson,
and I agree with
Deion Sanders.
Kyler Murray's a great talent. Yeah. He's a great talent, but toxic take. I'm gonna give you some toxic answers. I know a lot about sports.
If Kyler Murray were like 6'2", 6'3", he would be and had the same skill set and ability. People would be on his dick till the end of time, being like, "This is the best athlete we've ever seen." Man,
and he's 5'10", 5'11", right? He's 5'10".
He's not even. 5'11". Yeah, he's like 5'9", 5'10". Maybe that's being generous, but it's only because he's short he doesn't get the recognition in terms of being an athlete.
So I got a question for our Steele. So if you switch Kyler and Russ, like switch them and put them on opposite teams.
Separate teams.
Yeah, so you put Kyler on the Seattle Seahawks and you put Russ on the Cardinals. Do you think Kyler makes the Seahawks better than they are now, and then Russ or do you think
the thing with that is Russell has almost uncomparable knowledge of the game. This man makes calls. I think he just audibles calls. I mean, sometimes I think his coach can't make calls that Russell makes in game. Russell's knowledge of the game is unparalleled. But with that receiving core, I mean, Kyler Murray is an all-time talent, and I'm not discrediting him at all. But Russell will.
Do you think Kyler would do better on the Seahawks, or do you think Russ would do better on the Cardinals?
Yes, I think Kyler would do. I think Kyler would make the Seahawks.
I think Kyler. Shit.
Because what's the weak point of the Seahawks right now? Their offensive line.
Their offensive line and Kyler Murray.
Who is the most untouchable quarterback in terms of like escaping the pocket and evading the rush? Russ is up there. I'm not going to say that, but who's the most untouchable quarterback when he gets like a defensive end or a linebacker one-on-one in open space and he has to make a miss? Who are you taking? Russ.
Deshaun Watson was also in that conversation years ago.
No.
So yes, he was.
In terms of his ability to evade the rush.
Yeah.
And his short area quickness.
Have you seen the defensive line trying to tackle Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I
have. And Kyler is in another league.
Come on, bro.
I think it's.
There's a couple people in that conversation. Yeah. There's a couple people in that conversation.
I think it's Kyler Russ, 1A, 1B, but I think
don't let your bias speak for you because Deshaun Watson was all time evading that defensive line. This man would get tackled and throw people off of him and run out of the pocket and make a pass happen.
So he's stronger than Kyler Murray because he's bigger, but they also got to him. You can't touch Kyler Murray. You cannot touch him.
You have Lamar Jackson in that conversation. You have Patrick Mahomes in that conversation. You have Cam Newton in his prime in that conversation. You got a lot of guys that can avoid the defensive line or avoid a rush. But Kyler Murray is right now, Kyler Murray is that guy. But as far as evading defenses, I mean, there's a couple people in that conversation. Russell Wilson, there's a couple guys in that combo.
For sure. But
you're entitled to your opinion. I respect that.
We all are. I mean, we all are.
Let's I want to hear Art's toxic take now after hearing Jeff's and us spending so much time on Jeff's because honestly, this is interesting. It's so interesting hearing other people talk for once rather than being the one talking. So
we talking NFL, we're talking NBA.
So just so you know, this is like a general sports podcast. So like we do a fantasy focus most of the time, and we do talk about fantasy football because that's the big thing right now. But we're going to be talking about basketball a lot more.
Hey, basketball season's getting going right now. Let's
exactly.
Go,
hey, we're what?
We're like Suns in 4 this year. Let's go.
We're like 23 days away from the NBA season. So with that, let me start the NBA toxic take. Okay. The new look, old look, Lakers champions again.
No.
For sure. I'm here for all the toxic.
No. See, you buying into that whole 7 Hall of Famers, most All-Star appearances. They're old and slow and they can't shoot, bro.
Like I said, the new look, old look Lakers.
Okay, I'm gonna let you speak, and then
I knew this was gonna be toxic.
It's gonna be toxic, bro. Because when we talk about, you got a Suns fan talking about Lakers right now, so I'll let you speak, and then
let's go.
Yeah, kind of explain yourself, Art. Like, why do you think that way? Like, what is the main reasoning behind you picking the old look, new look, old look, one?
And being a Lakers fan originally when we got LeBron James, I'm going back to when we first got LeBron James. I'm not a LeBron fanboy, but when he came to the Lakers, I had to study his game. I studied his old highlights. I studied his old film. And then anybody that gets around LeBron just essentially just becomes better at what they do. And then AD is coming in this season. and he's playing the 5. He's not going 4 to 5. AD is playing 5. Now we have an older Carmelo Anthony who can come in and hit those game clutch shots. That's what he's known for. We don't need Carmelo to be Denver Nuggets Carmelo.
You
The
do,
only-
though. So for them to win
Yeah.
the championship, you do.
Yeah.
No, we don't. We need him to hit game clutch shots. We have LeBron to do what LeBron does. We have AD being the most dominant or one of the most dominant big men in the league, because you have Joel Embiid in that conversation. You have Nikola Jokic in that conversation. There's a couple guys, but AD is within the top 3 best big men in the league. And then you have a triple-double machine, which is toxic on any other team. But when you get with LeBron, LeBron finds a way to make things happen. And I'm here for it. As a Lakers fan, this to me is like science class. And we're just going to figure out how to make it work. And I'm here for it, to be honest with you.
Okay,
Granted,
let's unpack what you just said, though. You just said
Yeah.
LeBron makes everyone better around him regardless. And I would say that's true with role players. But I would actually make the inverse argument when it comes to you being a superstar. And it's shown in every team he's been on. Kyrie and Kevin Love both had to take step backs.
They won a championship. They won a championship.
I know, completely different story than what the Lakers are doing right now. Same thing on the Heat. Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade both had to take a back seat. Yes, that was also 10 years ago, bro. And they were young. And you didn't have the Brooklyn Nets, KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. You didn't have up-and-coming teams in the West like the Jazz, the Suns, the Mavericks. I'm just saying, like, if that's the case, he makes people better around him, but he doesn't make superstars better around him.
Russell Westbrook knows Kevin Durant's offense. LeBron James knows Kyrie Irving's offense. AD is just dominant all around. You're putting Rajon Rondo has been around the league and knows different offenses, different systems, and knows how to put it together. And then on top of that, you have Dwight Howard coming off the bench when AD's tired. He's just a presence, and he's a presence in the paint.
Okay, let's talk about all the players you just mentioned, though. Who's a knockdown shooter? Like, put him in the corner, put him on the wing. LeBron drives, pick and roll with AD. You kick it out to the corner. Who's a knockdown shooter? Because you just traded your 3 best shooters on your squad in an NBA that's dominated by shooters right now.
We did. Danny Green was a huge part of us winning that Lakers championship. You know, from the 3,
was a solid shooter. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, solid shooter. You have no shooters on your roster right now.
Yeah, I don't see anybody like lasting the longevity of the season.
I knew this was going to be a toxic take.
Also, you think so we just talked about like Kyrie and Kevin Love were okay with taking a backseat to LeBron. We had D-Wade, Chris Bosh who were okay to take the backseat.
But what you don't understand about LeBron in year 19 is LeBron is taking a back seat to everybody else. LeBron is there to make sure the team gets where it needs to go. He's the coach. We have a coach. LeBron is the on-court coach. He's taking a back seat, and he'll score when needed. He'll facilitate when it's needed. Other than that, you have a triple-double machine, and you have one of the best centers to ever play the game.
AD's not in that conversation yet, bro.
AD is in that conversation. What do you mean? AD is the reason why we went to the championship last season, or the season before. As
a Laker with LeBron,
AD hit that clutch 3 in the corner in the bubble.
Of all time, bro. You just said best centers of all time.
AD will go down that conversation.
No, he will not.
I don't think
he
so.
won't, bro. You have Shaquille O'Neal, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I would take players in the NBA right now over AD, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. I would personally, I'm a Suns fan, but I would much rather have DeAndre Ayton right now, where he's at in his career in comparison to AD. Ayton's 22, 23 years old. He's not injury prone. He's a walking double-double who anchored our defense in a championship run last year.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't agree with Jeff more, dude. Honestly, like I don't know about saying DeAndre Ayton is currently as good.
I'm not saying he's better than AD. I'm just saying I would rather have AD, or I'm sorry, I would rather have Ayton on my squad right now moving forward in terms of their age and their potential.
Only big men in today's league in AD's conversation are Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic.
AD is not in their conversation, in my opinion. Those two players are way, way better. So take Joel Embiid and put him on the Lakers right now, or take Jokic and put him on the Lakers and swap out AD? Does that make them a better team?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%.
But
I'm just saying, AD is a top 5. We already established AD is a top 5 center. I'm not saying that, but in terms of being an all-time great
So
center,
you're
nowhere close.
talking about points scored in the paint. AD can shoot perimeter shots, pass
What do you
the
mean?
ball.
Jokic is a shooter. Joel Embiid can shoot from the outside. They all have.
Joel Embiid cannot shoot from outside the paint.
Yeah, he can.
Joel Embiid is subpar. He's mid.
No, he's not.
Mediocre.
He is well above average for a center in terms of a 3-point shooter.
I think him and AD are like comparable as far as their outside shooting goes, like outside the paint. Like honestly,
AD is not a knockdown 3-point shooter. He can stretch the floor, but he's not like.
Do you think
not like I'm passing him the ball? He's making 50% of the threes. Like,
do you think Joel Embiid is hitting a game-winning shot in the playoffs?
Yes.
From 3? Hell no.
Joel Embiid is that guy.
I think
no.
Yeah, I think he has just as good of a chance as AD.
Anthony Davis is the reason we won a championship in 2019.
The reason was actually because you guys were in the bubble and there was no home court advantage, and the Heat were injured. I'm just gonna say that. Bam Adebayo was hurt, bro. Bam Adebayo would lock up AD. I have no doubt in my mind.
I see the
Lakers. Bam and Goran were healthy. I'm not saying the Lakers wouldn't win it.
Hey, hold on. With that said, I'm happy to see what the Miami Heat does, because I'm here in Miami. I'm definitely going to games. So
I love Bam. Bam, I would honestly
Bam is a baller. Bam is a baller.
Bam, AD is here. Bam is right here, bro.
Bam's closing
Bam is right there.
There's a reason why Bam was on the USA team. So
facts, bro. I love Bam. Bam's gonna win Defensive Player of the Year at some point.
I love Bam
for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
He probably could have won it last year, honestly.
Bam is a baller, and I can't wait to see what Miami Heat do.
Okay. But let's get back to the Lakers, bro. Okay, so here's why I don't think it's gonna work, bro. The West is stacked. The West is so stacked, bro.
But the thing is, my guy, the West is always stacked. When is it not stacked? Give me a year when it's not stacked.
No, but I'm just saying, like, all those players, if you had all these players on the Lakers roster in their prime, then I would say, yeah, hands down, no one's touching them. They're all like 33 plus. And the NBA is a young man's league, and it's an up and down league.
I see the
Lakers. Old look Lakers. New look, old look Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers are like the 3rd or 4th best team in the West.
Okay, tell me this though. Okay, so
give me the top 3 then.
Okay, so if the Lakers make the playoffs, which obviously they're going to, barring injury, if they go up against the healthy Warriors team in the first round, do you think they're getting out of the first round and beating the Warriors if they have a healthy Steph, Clay, Draymond, coached by Steve Kerr, who is an infinitely better coach than Frank Vogel?
With James Wiseman and like the little helping. Nah, man. See,
you think Klay Thompson in his first year back for being off in a year and a half is going to be pulling and hitting at a percentage that he used to? You're tripping.
Yes.
Hell no. He's got to take a second to catch up to NBA players.
No, the best shooting backcourt of all time does not forget how to shoot.
Hell no. There's a difference.
He didn't break his arm, bro. He didn't break his wrist. He tore his knee. He's still shooting.
There's a difference between playing at an NBA pace and then shooting in the gym. Period. Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters we've ever seen, but it's going to take time for him to get back in that rhythm. Steph Curry is going to knock down the ball regardless. Draymond Green's getting old. You think Klay Thompson's going to be hitting shots at a consistent clip like he used to? You're drunk. You're tripping. Hell no.
No, I'm definitely, dude. You're drunk. RCO, you're tripping right now, bro.
I see the Jazz. I see the Jazz. I see the Nuggets.
I see the Jazz as more of a threat than the Warriors.
I see the Suns and the Lakers, honestly, like neck to neck as far as power goes, and like as far as like power rankings type bullshit for the West. Like honestly, I see the Nuggets as a better team.
I see the Nuggets as more of a threat than the Warriors.
I see the Jazz as more of a threat than the Lakers. I could see the Warriors if everything goes well with Clay, like he returns to form, like, oh, for sure, without a doubt, I think they're also better than the Lakers. But like to Arsteel's point, like there is some, regression that could take place since Clay is coming back from an injury, and
it's gonna take time for Clay to catch back up. But I'm worried about the Nuggets, the Jazz. I'm not worried about the Warriors. I'm not worried about the Warriors at all.
But I see like the Nets. I see them as like the number 1, maybe number 2 team in the East.
And
I
in
think
respect to the Suns, if the Suns can come back at a healthy clip, Chris Paul comes back at the same rate he did, Devin Booker knocking down whatever he takes down, DeAndre Ayton, you guys have a solid team.
I don't see the Lakers making it out of the second
Here's
round.
what you have to take into account what you just said, though. Okay, so
you got LeBron James.
Lakers and Suns are close, right? You have literally your entire roster on the Lakers is on the downswing of the career. So from an unbiased, logical perspective, you would have to expect everyone on that team, except for maybe AD, to start having, arcing towards the latter half of the career. Every single player on the Suns, except for Chris Paul, is not even close to reaching their potential yet. So you can account for them being probably way better than they were last season, where LeBron, Russ, Melo, if they may be the same as they were last season, but I would expect a decline. Maybe a modest decline, but nonetheless, they're not going to be as good as they were.
All right, so let me just put this into perspective real quick. The Lakers are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the NBA. You got Tom Brady, you got LeBron James. Period.
Yeah, but like they both each
won
the championship already. they both won their chip already. Like I don't see.
And they both could win another ship.
They both could, but I think
they got real quiet when I said that.
See,
they're not. I'll bet you right now that the Lakers won't win the chip. If you want to make another bet on
if you want to make a bet, I'd even take
that. I will take that bet. Straight up, bro.
We already got a hefty bet going. We're not gonna get into it. Boom, boom.
Okay,
boom.
What do you want to bet? Let's bet on the record for the regular season then.
Dude,
Suns will have a better regular season record than the Lakers.
For sure. I agree with that.
Suns will finish as a higher seed. There's going to be the growing pains with that roster too, bro. None of them.
There's growing pains with the roster.
Point guard with like Russ, so they're going to take 15, 20, 25 games just to figure it out. They may have hit their stride by the end of the season, but the Suns are going to be ready to go day one. Like we have our team, everyone knows their role.
Yeah, okay.
I agree with that, but all it takes is for the Lakers to get into the playoffs.
See, I don't see them they might get out of the first round, but I don't see them getting out of that second round, like with whatever team's left over.
So then what do you guys think about Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because it's the same argument.
I mean, I don't know. I see the
okay.
I think the Cardinals have a better shot than the Bucs do making to the chip this year. Like honestly, like all I'm saying is the same argument. So I see, but I feel like Tom Brady's more clutch than LeBron is. Like, if we're being real, as far as it goes, like, so I think Tom Brady has a better chance of willing the Bucs to a Super Bowl than LeBron James does, willing the Lakers to another chip.
All I'm saying is it's the same argument.
Somewhat.
I don't know, man. It's basketball's different, bro. Like scheme and coaching and all that is way more important.
And it is
NFL,
different.
In the
and
NFL,
it is
and
different.
the NBA.
And it is different. LeBron has a more of a role to play in a win than Tom Brady because LeBron can play defense and offense. So,
see, but I don't think LeBron's here. I have to be careful with how I word this. I don't think LeBron.
It's a good toxic take, huh? It's a good toxic take.
Yeah, it really is because it got me thinking. I don't think LeBron has the same ability anymore to make his team better as like Tom Brady does with the Bucs. Like Tom Brady can put the ball into whoever fucking pocket, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Their defense is stacked. All right, dope. Like LeBron has to do more for the Lakers to win. And like to your point, you say that he's taken a step back to all these other players when in reality Russell Westbrook's like 30-something. I don't see him being a knockdown shooter, as Jeff said. Anthony Davis is going to have to take a leap forward to make up for slack.
Did you just see LeBron James' 750,000 square foot Nike Innovation Campus? You think this man is not inspired to leave a legacy? Are you kidding me?
What?
This man is going to win a championship this year.
I don't know, dog.
Come on, bro.
All right. So with that being said, guys, thank you for joining us on the Stat Daddy podcast. It was a fucking phenomenal episode. But on that note, bro, I think we should wrap it up there. Your toxic take, like I can't even follow that up, bro. Like it's just gonna keep going around in a circle. I can see, bro. You really think the Lakers are winning the chip this season with the fucking geriatric?
Hey, that bet, whenever you want to take it, Art Steele is there for you. Just say it. If Lakers winning the chip or the best record in the West. I'm just saying.
Me being a logical man is we have a nice little bet going. I'm gonna let the NBA do its own thing.
Okay.
And let me just say one thing before we wrap up. Pequeno Poppy was scared. He didn't want to come on. He didn't want the smoke this week because he could have been here if he wanted to be. He was doing all this talking, FaceTimes before the show on Instagram. He didn't want the smoke. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Hey, I was ready with the stats, so
pulled the Chaz Cade on our last episode as well. Chaz did the same thing Josh is doing now, man. It's starting to become a problem. But,
hey, we'll see how the season goes. It was fun.
For sure. I appreciate.
Thanks for having me on the cast. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Definitely fun, even though you guys had me up hella late East Coast time.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We
appreciate you. Just so you know, we kept you up late because of Josh, and then this motherfucker.
This is true, and then he didn't even show up. So you could blame your best friend on that one.
We were trying to run him earlier, but I just want to thank you guys for coming out on this episode. It was one of the chiller episodes. I didn't have Josh or yelling at me, so that was honestly pretty refreshing.
Man!
But no, honestly, thank you guys for coming out, sharing your rosters. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Some insight. Maybe people are in a similar situation to one of the three of us, so it's good for them to kind of hear where we're at, and then also hear what we think of each other's rosters. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sure you guys will be back on the show relatively soon. I would like to have you guys back on maybe in like a month's time, see how we've progressed throughout the season, see where we're standing at. I really expect our Steele and Jeff to be 1 and 2 in the league since they made such an important bet this season. But that is
we'll see how the season goes. Anything can happen.
Hey, I'm not scared, bro. I'm not scared. I'm just saying. Hey, you're gonna have to come and take that spot from me, bro. I'm just saying,
you're defending champ. You're defending champ.
Hey, I'm also number 1 in the league this year. I don't. Last season that's in the past, bro. I'm just saying I'm still number 1. So
it's early in the season, but yeah.
Jeff's about to get a free dub this week too with my underperforming national.
Don't you put that juju on me, Zach? Because whenever I think I'm getting a free dub, it doesn't end up happening that way. I don't take any opponent lightly, okay? I'm just saying.
If you have anybody with some knees that you could spare me, send me some trade offers because
I got Chris Carson out there.
I said somebody with some knees, dog. Come on.
Oh yeah.
My whole team's on the block. The whole team. Just let me know.
Dude, I can tell.
Anybody can get traded.
Revolving door, dog. I could tell. Dude, I'm gonna come see you about Waller, but I highly doubt you'd ever give that man up.
We'll see.
That man's a stud and a half. But once again, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. And if you've lasted to this point watching the show, appreciate it. Give us a like, comment, maybe subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on. Hey, go Suns. Go Suns, go Cards. Let's go.
Hey, go Suns. Woo! I fucked the Cards.
Charges all the way. Charges all the way.
Appreciate you, my guy.
Anytime, y'all.
Appreciate it.